Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to another video. This time I'm going to show you how you can make money off old and broken electronics. Here I have a set of broken Wii controllers that I'm going to use to make a few art displays. Now, I've been doing this since college and have sold some for as much as 100 bucks. It all depends on what electronics you use and how nice your display ends up looking. So I'm going to show you three examples, okay? So let me show you how it's done. For this first one, I used a wooden plaque I got at the hardware store for only $3. At first, I wanted to add the controller shells, circuit boards, and components all together, but it just looked too crowded and not symmetrical enough. So I decided to just keep it simple and just use the controller shells for this one. You can attach the controller shell to the plaque using the holes already on the controller. I simply used one screw to hold the controller down. And to avoid cracking the wood, just make sure to drill a small pilot hole first. For the nunchuck, I drilled a small hole on the side of the controller for the screw. Once the bottom halves of the controllers are held onto the plaque, you can start hot gluing the buttons into place and putting back the second half of the controller. I added a nameplate at the bottom. You can use the bottom edge of the plaque to line up the nameplate and simply screw it on. I printed out the Wii logo and simply put it on there using double-sided tape. I would recommend using high quality glossy paper for this. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have any, so I just used regular paper for this one. Finally, I added a picture hanger in the back. Alright, so for something like this, we're just going to go ahead and measure it. And as you can see, it is it's about it's about 8 inches. So the middle is going to be somewhere around here, on 4. Okay. For this next one, I used a wooden plaque that was painted white, which would create a nice contrast with the green electronic components I was going to use. I arranged the components in a way so that everything was just nicely lined up with even spacing. I used these small circuit board holders I got online to hold the Wii controller and nunchuck boards. For the nunchuck board, I removed the wires to keep things clean and organized. I then hot glued the rest of the components onto the board. Next, I added a nameplate at the bottom and placed a Nintendo printout in the slot. Just like with the other nameplate, I used double-sided tape to hold it in place. Avoid glue when working with paper because it warps the paper and it just makes it look ugly and messy. Use double-sided tape instead. Finally, I measured the midpoint in the back and added a hanger. The last art piece I worked on here is a little different. Instead of a plaque, I decided to use a floorboard sample as the base. You can usually get these for free at the hardware store. The only controller piece I really had left was the nunchuck shell. Make sure to drill a pilot hole big enough for your screw, otherwise the board will begin to chip just like it did here. I placed one screw slightly above the middle of the board. Then I took the second half of the nunchuck and slid the bottom onto the head of the screw so that it would hold it in place. You kind of have to make sure the screw isn't too deep into the wood, but also not too far out so that it holds the controller well in place. I then added hot glue to the buttons as well as the screw just to avoid any pieces from moving. After that, I placed the second half of the controller back on and put the two little screws in the back to hold it in place. Finally, I added a nameplate and used a Wii logo printout. Well, there you go, folks. That's how to make good use of old and broken electronics. Now, all you have to do is just put them up for sale on eBay or Etsy. Use your imagination and creativity, and I'm sure you'll come up with some cool ideas. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks.